Hello, and welcome to the Spiritual Pivot, the podcast about running the chaos. Nope, not that. See, I've already started and I'm already screwing up. That's fine. The Spiritual Pivot is not a place where you come to actually get professional, quality, basically anything. You're here because you're also someone who is either considering running a spiritual business, or you've been trying to run one for a while, or maybe you're very successful and you just really like to know what else others are doing with their time and with their life. Well, that's why we're here. My name is Charlie River Morrow. I'm an Akashic Record reader, multidimensional channeler, medium, neurodivergent millennial, among other things. And I'm here to really and truly provide a space for those of you who have also had a number of pivots in your life, particularly when it comes to spirituality and starting an entirely new way of existing in this world. This is a podcast that starts recording, and at no point will there be edits. There will just be flubs, misspeaking of things, dog chaos in the background if you're in my home, possibly animal or child chaos for whoever it is that I'm speaking to, because life is messy. Everything in our lives is messy, and why on earth should we have a podcast that's completely polished? There's enough of those. Let's make a podcast that's not particularly put together. How about that? And for this first episode, I don't have other guests. I am simply going to be the guest for this podcast because each of these conversations is going to follow the same basic principles. I'm going to talk to the other person about their past, particularly professional past, their pivot points that got them to their present, which is really just the conversation that we'll be having, and then the future, things that they're hoping for, things that they're scared of. And the entire time, I'm going to be tapped into their Akashic records so that the questions that come through are as relevant to the two of us and to whoever's listening as possible. At the very end, there'll be about 15 to 20 minutes carved out so that I can also provide my guest with an Akashic Record reading about their business. As an Akashic Record reader, I can tap into anything that you would have questions for. I'm keeping it very contained for the purposes of this podcast because life is chaotic. We could talk about any number of things. I'm trying to keep it focused to the spiritual business world so that this can be the kind of conversation that inspires, frightens, perhaps. Maybe there's certain things you think you want to get into, but after listening to a few people talk about their experiences with it, maybe you'll just keep it as a hobby for now. Or maybe you'll explore new ways of doing things. Or you'll just appreciate the fact that it is still a business, and businesses are still bound a little bit to the rules of being a 3D human. So, I also encourage anyone watching or listening to this podcast to be moving at all times. You're going to see me stretching if you're watching this on YouTube. I encourage that for sure. I move my body. I do yoga. I let my body stretch and move whenever I'm listening to any podcast. I don't particularly encourage listening to this while you're operating something like a car. That would actually be a recommendation I have for any podcast that has to do with any healer, okay? So anyone doing spiritual work, please don't listen to them in the car. If you're commuting, that's fine. You might end up missing your stop, just so you know. But no, if you're the one operating a vehicle, please don't listen to this. Please turn it off. Listen to some music or something. Don't listen to a podcast that has to do with healers, because the energetics that you're going to be engaging in by consuming this content, they can just put you into gamma state of things, which isn't so great for executive function, isn't so great for basically all things focus and concentration. The focus should be on your body and how you're just taking in all of this content. So for the purposes of myself being interviewed, I could just go back and forth here on camera, but that's not really that fun. And we like to have fun here because I, as a neurodivergent person, I have autism spectrum disordered brain, an ADHD brain, and a dissociative identity disorder brain. I am also a channeler, so I can pull in anybody to co-host. Though, checking in with my guides real quick. No, I currently have no particular co-hosting requests, but hey, whoever it is that would like to sit down with me and have a conversation about your business, If there's someone else you'd like to discuss with or have any particular conversation with, let's see who I can get on the line. For today, I've actually got Proxy here. Hi, everybody. For those of you that are listening and can't see, Proxy is a hand puppet. A hand puppet that has been with me since, 2023? Yeah, about 2023. All right, well, as you can hear, Proxy has her own voice. Yeah, I've got my own voice. And I don't throw my voice, so those of you watching, you're just going to see Proxy talking. And Proxy is here because she's going to be asking me the questions, kind of being the host so that I can be the guest, I suppose. Yeah, that's basically what we were going to do. It may not work too well. We haven't exactly workshopped this. Usually I'm just here for the mediumship moments. Yeah, so. And for those of you that are curious, I am originally from Virginia. This is my speaking voice, but Proxy definitely has, well, yeah, I have a bit of the accent going on. We all understand who I am, right? I don't need to explain. All right, thank you. Thanks, Proxy. All right. And for those of you that are curious, there is another channel that Proxy is on, Zuzu and Proxy and Charlie and Guest. It is a mediumship with puppets and me in jukebox mode. I'll explain it all in a minute. All right. I'm just checking in because honestly, for any podcast, I feel like this is usually where you'd have some music, so we can have some like do 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 do. Welcome to the podcast. Hey, welcome to the podcast. Hey, not gonna add some music in, just putting it now, 'cause hey. Welcome to the podcast. Pretty sure this is how it's gonna start. Every time I get the other person in, it'll probably be a different song depending on who's here, because it's part of the bridge work for me to get into a level of central nervous system woo woo woo. So enjoy the fact that this is just the song. All right, that's it. No more singing. I am a singing channeler. No more singing though. No more. We're good. Thank you, Charlie. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started then, because Charlie, I want you to tell the audience about your past, about everything that you, well, okay, not everything. Charlie can talk a lot, but tell me at least the highlights of your work experience as though you were sitting down to an interview. All right? Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, I've had enough of those. Okay, well, thank you for that question, Proxy. Yes. You see, prior to 2024, when I had my near-death experience and everything in my life completely changed, I, at the time, had actually been building a business to be a health and wellness coach, which was in and of itself a pivot. Excuse me, I need some water. Yeah, go ahead and make sure you always have water. Those of you that are listening too, she can't talk while she's drinking. But those of you that are listening at home, make sure you have water. And if you don't have it, go get it right now. Thank you. She's going to take a minute. Not a literal minute, but so I was a health and wellness coach. I got national board certified to do that. I went through all of the training, all of the things. And that had happened. We're sort of going backwards in time. Is that okay? Oh, that's fine. Whatever direction you need to go to keep your story together. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Proxy. That's very helpful because yeah, a neurodivergent brain person, we don't really always think linearly, right? But I'll just go backwards. Health and wellness coach. Cool. Did also get certified as a personal trainer and a nutrition coach just to try to be more helpful as a health and wellness coach. And I got Zumba certified, but also I didn't realize you had to pay a monthly fee to stay part of being Zumba certified. It was a whole thing. I really wish they would have told me that before I got certified. Anyway, that's not the conversation we're having today. Prior to that, I went back to school to get a second master's in psychology because I wanted to get a PhD ever since I was in my 20s, and I just stopped. Never like I got a master's back then in sociology. Wanted to continue with a PhD. Applied to one program, they didn't accept me, and was like, you know what, that's a good sign because I want to do like the having kids and normal life stuff. Yeah, how did that work out? It didn't. Never managed to have kids. It was a whole decade-long infertility journey. But did go back to school after COVID just because reprioritized, re-understood. That the end of 2020 was when we got the DID diagnosis, and that just opened up a whole world. But we went back to school, kind of was like, this whole academia thing was fun in our 20s, but I don't like it. It was an R1 institution. And so I really got heavy in it was Boston University. Okay. Yeah, it was Boston University. The first one was VCU. But I, yeah, we didn't like academia. Didn't really like that everyone, every professor that we liked basically was like, yeah, well, I got lucky in my PhD program because my advisor was cool. And I'm like, that's not a good, like, that's your view? That's your view of getting a PhD, was I got lucky because this one person amidst all of these assholes was nice. It's like, okay, thank you for telling me exactly what I need to hear to not pursue this path. So I instead then just continued with like educating with becoming a health and wellness coach. And that more or less was fulfilling sort of a very long-term desire to be a therapist that I never actually pursued. And why didn't you pursue that? Well, I always just had something stopping me every time I considered going down the social work route or the counseling route without just taking classes. And I always had this pull to do one-on-one client work, but I never wanted to go that route. Mainly insecurity, feeling like I wouldn't be able to help people, but also just worry that it would be too much. Um, so that's more recent years. Prior to that, I did back office financial stuff for a nonprofit that helped with political fundraising, basically, among other things. I've worked in youth homelessness. I've worked in intimate partner violence and sexual assault, doing a lot of program evaluation work, a lot of grant work. I've been a professor of sociology and sex and gender. I've also been a preschool teacher. That was sort of an early career. And my earliest of careers was working at a pool and then being one of the people who makes you ice cream and then sings at a Cold Stone Creamery, among other things. I also was a waitress at Friendly's and a courtesy clerk at U Crops. Trying to think if there's other. That's enough. All right. So I've had a lot of careers. I've had a lot of professional things that I have grown into, a lot of very, you can start a career here and really just become management. You can become a leader in this. You can really become solid. After the NDE, I Oh yeah, and right before the NDE, I was working at the Cape Cod Institute, which is a continuing education place for mental health professionals. So I just got a whole I only worked there for a year, but I got like a whole year's worth of continuing education in the field of psychology, which was delightful. And not just psychology, because they also have some spiritual leaders that do stuff there too. So, and former psychology become spiritual leader people. It's pretty cool. It's a fantastic institute. If you're a person who's looking for continuing education, the Cape Cod Institute, look them up. And also try to get to Cape Cod, because it's a whole thing. Like go for the week. Go spend your time there. All right. We aren't here to do ads, Charlie. I know, but I just want to give the space for people to provide ad space for places that when they were up and coming into this level of where they are, they just kind of want to give shout outs, right? Like, I like shout outs. I like spreading the positivity of places that I have been blessed to be part of for at least a little while. And that was that. That was that. So talk a little bit more about some of these pivot points that you've had. You touched on them. Talk on them a little bit more. Oof. Really, when you look back at your life, you always see where big pivots have sort of come to shape what you've been doing. And yeah, I always took in research, but to do it for nonprofits, because nonprofits, to write a grant is to have to do academic level research, and then to administer the grant is to have to basically do a pilot program and to collect data and it's a little bit like academic research in that you also all of that data, you do disseminate it in your reports and things that you talk about, but it's kind of just information going back to the grant reports and to anybody that you're at a conference with or talking to. Try to disseminate information, but it's hard to make sure that findings really do find their home. But most of my pivots have been because I felt like my time somewhere was over. Even when I said goodbye to the Cape Cod Institute, I felt so weird expressing to them that I just needed to be done contracting with them because I didn't have an answer as to why. I was like, look, the symphony that you're playing, this is to the executive director, the symphony that you're playing called for a tambourine for this year's song, this season's song, but your next song doesn't need a tambourine, and I'm a tambourine, right? It's more or less how I said goodbye because that's how I leave places. I'm like, I know that this sounds, unexpected, but I have to leave now. I'm sorry. I have the inner pull that says no more. And once we got the DID diagnosis, that made a lot more sense because who was mainly running our lives was often, you know, months, 2 years at a time. We would co-front, but it was always one main person who was sort of driving our life for any number of time, any amount of time, and you know, especially depending on who it is that's mainly fronting, a job can either be perfect and a great fit or ugh, just doesn't work. And we had to leave the Cape Cod Institute because, well, we left like a couple of weeks before we died. And then had to do all of the emotional cleanup work afterwards. Yeah, that was correct. We'd actually seen it. We had a vision of it the September before it all happened because all we knew was we can't do this next summer because they operate on a summer by summer basis. We just had this we can't do it. So that whole thing was sort of a big pivot leading up to 2024. Just pivot after pivot and attempting to be my own boss with the health and wellness coaching and contracting with people. It's why I worked with the Cape Cod Institute because they contract. And yeah, there were all of these different life pivot points that we've navigated together. And the NDE was the real just life crashing down one. And in the time since, it was still we, but it's been me because I've been integrating my internal family since that event, most integrated during that death. And well, yeah, it's been a process ever since, but I've been more or less flying solo in a conscious way with the rest that were still here and on their way to integration at the subconscious level, kind of influencing decisions without being part of who is fronting and making them. So, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about dissociative identity disorder? Well, I personally would prefer that we all start calling it being a collective being because it's, yes, we pathologize everything, but like I've had conversations with so many entities and through so many folks' Akashic records, things like autism spectrum brain, that's a Christ consciousness brain. It's a Christ consciousness level circuitry. You come in with the archetype of Christ consciousness for brain pattern capacity because it allows for your entire central nervous system to be more attuned and aware. It's why you get overwhelmed so easily when you have this brain type. Oh my goodness. And it's why it was much more rare. I have it on good authority that Yeshua had an autism spectrum brain. The authority is those that I talk to, right? But I think that other spiritual leaders, when they tap in and ask similar questions about neurodivergence, they'll get similar answers. I think I've seen other folks talk about this too. And other levels of pathology, like, yes, you do create entirely new headquarters internally when we're speaking in terms of Inside Out. She loves referencing Inside Out. I love referencing movies and I love referencing TV shows because media and pop culture is a language in and of itself, and to be able to reference in terms of is just helpful for me. It's helpful for me to express things. I might also be asking questions. Going to go back to me as host. I might be asking you questions or making comparisons to pop culture. Come with your pop culture hat on, right? All right. But yes, as a collective being, but one who is in the process of continued integration, I've had a number of those events. And so all of this is really, I really just sort of bring all of that up because it's informed what I've done. It's informed the amount of education I've given myself. I'm more than qualified as a college professor to create my own curriculum for an advanced degree. There is a YouTuber by the name of Ali Spagnola who created Outrageous University. I am a shark. I already gave myself a PhD in applied timeline dissolution is the PhD I gave myself in because why not? What's more outrageous than creating your own PhD program with a fake university, right? So I do have a PhD now. You can call me Dr. Charlie River Morrow. If you want to, that's totally fine. Is it official? No, it's a fake university. It's a fake PhD. But also, it's just an artistically created one. And I've done the coursework. My book, The Physics of Light Language, that was my thesis. That was my dissertation. That was my, okay, I want a PhD from Outrageous University. Here you go. The first video on the Light Language channel is also the dissertation for that. So, yeah, I created my own spiritual PhD program and turned it into a bit of a quantum physics thing because there is also a Substack with the physics of light language.substack.com that also is just addendums, sort of other other channeled things about quantum physics that didn't go in the book because the book was just sort of personal exploration stuff. So those are some of the other pivots because last year I also had I unfortunately had to repeat a trauma experience because sometimes we do that. And I had to repeat the psych ward experience because I had my NDE. Husband found me in the shower post my heart had stopped, but we got it working again thanks to the cold water in the shower. High five, cold water in the shower for hours. Yeah, it worked. But he freaked out, took us to the hospital. They misdiagnosed, did not listen to a word from my husband, did not pay any attention to the physical symptoms at all, did not give me the IV drip and the sedative that was all I needed, and like flu medicine would have been helpful. Nope, week in the psych ward. And I had to repeat that again when I had another trance channel state because Randy got freaked out. Things happened. I did get physically injured again. They ignored it again. Week in the psych ward. And then a third fucking time. I mean, Proxy already knows this, but yeah. Because went into it. And this time, actually, it didn't last a few days. Randy freaked out like the day it happened. I know, we've had some relationship things with that because when you tell your partner and you like get to the point where you're like, no, but promise me you'll never take me to a hospital again. He says, I promise. And then you end up going to your hometown and like the day that you get into the trans channel state, he knows that's what's happening. He freaks the fuck out. He thinks, surely this hometown hospital will be different. And then they're not. Anyway, it's okay if sometimes personal stories come out when we're having these conversations because pivots and the conversations that we're going to have together, they're going to evoke some shit. And Proxy, thank you. I'm just going to put this down for a second. When you are coming onto my show, we're going to pivot around too. It's going to be a little bit over here, a little bit over here, a little bit up here. You're talking about your life. You're talking about big pivot points. Any amount of those conversations is going to illuminate cells, memories. It's just going to whoa. And if you're coming to talk to me, it's so that you can get a little bit of healing on that. And so that anybody watching can also get triggered by something that you're talking about in your lived experience. And they can also sit with it, let their bodies do some deep breathing. Again, I recommend do yoga. Move around, especially if something that comes out of a guest or me triggers something inside of you. Some sort of life pivot that you've had, because pivots are traumatizing. Even the good ones are still traumatizing because of how much change has to happen. That's really scary. And you put a lot of things away because you're a little distracted. You put a lot of the things that have been part of your struggle before the pivot. If it was a really good pivot, you might forget just how crushing you were feeling before it happened. Some of these conversations are going to evoke a little bit inside of you. It's intentional. I've got guidance to help it be part of the conversation. And any guest on this show, you do too. You know this. You're a professional in the spiritual field, right? Okay, so that's a lot of information, Charlie. Do you want to just talk about what it is you do now? I would love that. Thank you. Let's pivot. Okay. So, what I do now is I read Akashic Records for clients. I am fully transparent. I have had one paying client so far. I started my business January the 9th, 2024. Nope, 2025. 2025. In like things I want to do in 2024, sure, but officially as an LLC in 2025. And I've done hundreds and hundreds of trades, which I do enjoy very much. I love the energy of trades because when I provide an Akashic Record reading and what I'm receiving, like I provide an hour and then I also get back an hour. Usually it is another Akashic Record reading because that's most of who I've traded with. But I've gotten tarot readings, I've gotten oracle readings, I've gotten energetic, intuitive readings. I've just also gotten a chance to have an hour with a person and their story, which has honestly been a very fun trade. I've just had trades. I've had trades with a number of people for a number of experiences, and it's one of my favorite ways of providing Akashic Record readings. Not that I don't love money. I love money. Money's my favorite thing. Money's been a little... Money hasn't been hanging out with me as much as I would like, right? I like money in abundance. Money has been in service so far. In abundance, I personally would argue no. That's my take. My guides have different opinions of that. But I'm like, well, but not in levels of like not in the same levels of abundance that it has been at various points in my career, particularly when I was managing someone at an organization that did a really good job of providing really good benefits and good work-life balance and a place to have friends. You know, it's really hard when places that have that for you in your little pocket are also some of the most toxic fucking places to work. Ah, that's why I leave. That's why I leave some places. I need a second. Because the being your own boss is kind of lonely. And it's so disheartening when you put so much work into what you're doing and into cultivating your skills and into being the best reader you can, and clients aren't showing up, right? It's painful, and it makes you feel like a fraud. It makes you feel like you're doing something wrong. It makes you question. You're like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I had this call, I had this feeling, I got certified. And it is a little silly to say I got certified as an Akashic Record reader. There is no real such thing, right? It's just as fake as Outrageous University is. Any of these certifications are. But it's only that way because there's not larger bodies that are regulating this kind of stuff. If we had that, if we had larger bodies of professionals to come together and certify programs to do certifications, then I think maybe we could all have larger conversations. We could have universities that are starting to study this stuff really start to study the impact of it, a before and after, before you go into this program, after you go into this program, based on these things that can be measured, which we could totally do. We haven't gotten there because academia and that whole world is just, it's so much slower than how fast we've all been evolving, right? So it's as real as you make it. And especially in 2024, like a certification was catnip for me. I think that's not where I am anymore. I don't really care about the pieces of paper with my name on them. I can make my own at this stage. So I'll just keep doing that, right? If I want to do a certification of something, I'll just learn it myself. That was part of it. I didn't need someone, but the point of going to a program like I went to is it's kind of like going to a university. You're not necessarily going to get the information nearly as much as you are to make the connections with people and to have an opportunity to be in a safe, contained space to practice, because In my experience, learning to read the Akashic Records cost me everything in my life. It cost me everything. It helped me get back to who I am, but it cost me every friend I've ever had. It has cost me my marriage. I don't currently know where my relationship is going to keep going because channeling was the trance channel state during the death spiral is what really traumatized my husband. And so every time he can even feel on a central nervous system level that I'm channeling, he gets a little triggered, even still. And we've worked on it. He's in therapy. Like we're trying, but there are points at which so many relationships have already left me that I question the sustainability of this relationship too. So it's been hard. It's been really, really hard. And if I had if I had been trying to read the Akashic Records from just a book, like reading Linda Howe's book and then like practicing it on my own, I think I would have put it down. I think I wouldn't have continued to really make it a part of what I can do. And for something like the Akashic Records, you really do have to make it part of what you can do in order to be sustainable with it at the level that at least everyone that I saw in that program really wanted it to be, which was I want to be a professional in this. I want to be someone who does this on a daily basis. Um, my only recommendation would be it needs to stop being a 6-month program. It needs to be a 2-year program. If you're going to get certified in something like that, 6 months is enough time to get your body on board. And if after 6 months you're having physiological responses that are indicating that this isn't working, don't keep going with the program. It should be like a master's and a PhD thing, right? Like 6 months to see if this even actually will stick. And then another year and a half before you're like this level of certified. But that's a bunch of, again, that's if we're actually going the route of people making big things, right? And it's just what I've seen based on my own circuitry, my own central nervous system, how much changes inside of you when you're tuning in and pulling things through, especially if you have a significant trauma history. Because you then are like, Proxy, I'm gonna put you down for a second. What I've noticed and what I've learned in my time learning the Akashic Records and really taking what I learned at the Little Soul School and kind of throwing it out the window, really, because that was a very specific way in which it works for Laura. Laura does not have the same kind of neurodivergence that I do, nor does she have the trauma history that I have. So my way of doing it, it works to understand to do it the way that she taught, but the way that I do it is nothing like how she does it. I do not use a key. I have my own bridge and way of communicating and connecting. I have everything that I use before and after, the kinds of questions that come through. I don't stay mental when I go there. I don't stay in that level because of just the things that I've been working on. It gets very complicated. I'm not going to explain it right now because it's been years of work. I mean, really. And tapping into past life stuff when I did this on a more shamanic level. So there's just a lot that I've had to, in traditional school format, learn and then deconstruct and unlearn so that I'm not doing someone else's way of existing. Because when one person shows you how they do it, they explain as best they can how, when they get to a client, they're opening up themselves about this much, right? And there's reasons for why they do it that much. There's reasons for why it's protected, but it's also, it just has to do with the capacity for translation. The more experiences that you have had in your life, the more open to different necessary for this moment stories come out. And if you have a significant trauma history, the people that are coming to you, they very well, not even might, maybe not at the start, but you are going to be the kind of person who is providing them with trauma healing. You wouldn't have started learning the Akashic Records otherwise, not after a life of so much trauma. And to only do it with this much of yourself open the way that you've learned it, it's going to cause too much dissonance. It's going to cause too much of what's happening because you're still magnetizing these people to you because it's part of the song that you're singing. It's part of the resonance that you are still putting out. And so if you want to keep it like this, you have to remove that latent stored trauma from your body. You have to go through your trauma healing. You have to truly do that work too. So if you are a person who is starting to read Akashic Records and you know you have some significant trauma and you can't talk about it with another person without it evoking a reaction, it means you need to pause what you're doing professionally, slow it down, maybe take money off the table and make it trade-based, and you need to get yourself to therapy. EMDR, to ping, because it will, and somatic experiencing. I recommend, since you have weekly basis, first session of the month, EMDR, the next 3 sessions, somatic experiencing. That's my recommendation based on what I have in me and what I've been healing with, basically. It's what I've seen work. And it's what I know works as well based on the psychological research I also have as part of my brain. But I'm just checking in with Gaia real quick. Anything else that you would... Body-based healing is the most beneficial. Also, drink your water, eat your plants. Yeah. And while you're doing that, as much plant material as you can consume. Really. Smoothies were my gateway. Smoothies were how I got more plant-based because they're easy. You put a bunch of stuff in there, especially greens, right? Just get your daily dose of Gaia. Make it a smoothie. Make it a smoothie. Then you got the water, and you got the plant-based milk if that's what you want. You've got the fruit. You've got the veggies that you would not munch on otherwise. The chia seeds, maybe, right? Just make it all plant-based. That's the key. All right. Okay, Charlie. So let's get into a little bit more of the kinds of services that you can offer to people in case they're curious. Okay, so just a little bit of ad. Yeah, a little bit of an ad. Okay. So if you go to my website, soulharmonyconnection.com, you will see that I do offer Akashic Record readings. They are $222. That is primarily because I am a lover of angel numbers, and my guides, even at the start, basically said, look, I know that the people you've seen are charging $175. We know that the rate that you see is anywhere from $150 to $500, and it truly is for Akashic Record readings. We want you to have it above $200. And I said, fantastic, above $200, angel numbers, 222. Because the day that I was also deciding a few other things while we were out to lunch, the waitress had a 222 tattoo on her. And her name was Alice. And I was like, because I don't know. I also had a few things like Alice in Wonderland. And there were just some cute, like rabbit themed synchronicities that happened leading up to that. I was like, okay, 222. Cool. I love it. That's perfect. So that's why. It's a barrier for folks. I'm fully aware of that. I'm fully aware of the fact that it has kept people from hiring me. But the one client that I had, she hired me as a way of celebrating herself and her birthday. So that's a fantastic energy to come in with. That is such... I still genuinely kind of... This is why it's bad. I'm gonna confess something. There's a little part of me that kind of wants to make my money another way so that I can just do trades for Akashic Record readings, and so that she will forever be the only person who ever actually paid. But until those other opportunities come in, I'm still like putting myself out there. But man, let me tell you, if the opportunities exist for me to just only offer Akashic Record readings for trade, I want that. I want to be able to do that. But this is a business, right? And I'm still trying to make money because who knows, right? My husband is working right now. I still have pings that tell me that that's not going to be the case for much longer. And I have been applying to jobs again because I'm still in the here and the now. Just because I have visions of things that could be coming, that I can feel coming, doesn't mean they're here yet. So I'm still taking necessary precautions, right? And I check in with guides, and I only apply to jobs when it feels aligned. So I'm still playing that game too. That's where I am right now. And I do also have consulting on there too, because I've started consulting for my friend. I've already posted a video about it on the Light Language channel. I'm not going to share any more information about it because I'm consulting, it's private, but I am providing program evaluation for it, where I'm interviewing people, I'm conducting focus groups for a product that we both truly believe would be very helpful in the spiritual community. And we're really trying to figure out how to make it free, how to make it freely available, how to make it a thing where people can, it's just not ready to talk about it. The synchronicities will align, right? That's a trust-based thing. But I'm utilizing my skills to help with that because I can use the Akashic records now to do program evaluation. Do y'all understand how cool that is? Like, it's so exciting. It's so cool. And that's the kind of stuff I want to do. And there is an option on my form that you'll fill out if you're curious, to get my assistance in some way. Where I'm like, okay, I accept trades. What would you like to trade? Anything in mind? Do you have any ideas? My current need is like money, I guess. Sure. Sure, the need is money because the goal that I have is I'm looking for a new place to live, um, a new home that feels like home. Because where I live now does not feel like home. It feels like a mistake. Not a mistake, just one of those like, oh, aligned misadventures in your life, right? You followed guidance to get here, and then you're like, guides? Why? Why? Okay, all right. We're going to get you back on target. Okay. Thank you, Proxy. Thank you. Oh, you got it, baby. So I want to know, what do you hope is in your future? In my future? In your future. Oh, that's a big question, Proxy. I've got so many things I hope are in my future. Because I keep having visions that involve people that I'm a fan of on like television. Yeah, we know. You can talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm too embarrassed to talk about it. But I do. I have visions of I have visions of like I personally think that I think that an Akashic record reading for someone like John Oliver would be so entertaining to watch because I don't know if I'd freak him out. I don't know where he stands on the whole, like, having any sense of, like, childhood religion thrown on its head, right? He's someone that has provided me with safe ways of taking in news about the world for years now. I've called him my Mr. Rogers because that's what he feels like to me. He's the safe man on TV that I can spend some of my time in my home with, that helps me understand this really chaotic world. Even though I understand it, I've also just put a lot of things down. I don't watch the news anymore. I I consume global events on a very limited basis, and with those that I have built up levels of trust to the point that I'm comfortable with them being in my bedroom, right? Like, and I feel like he would be a really interesting recipient of an Akashic record reading and possibly of the mediumship, because especially with you and with Zuzu, yeah, she can channel through anybody using the puppets, and you can tell him. Okay. Okay, so I was under the influence of THC when I did it the first time. That's why I took the video down, because I don't want those videos to exist in the world with puppets, right? That just feels like it crosses a very substantial line, right? But there is a song that I channeled out from Jim Henson, and I'm so scared to actually put it online because I feel like I'll get sued. But it's such a sweet song. It's so cute and so sweet, and I can absolutely get it back. I'm an Akashic record reader. I just tune in and be like, "Yes, Mr. Henson, please come through in jukebox mode." Thank you, sir. Right? But I kind of would only do that for John Oliver. I think I would do it for him because I feel like he would appreciate it. He would appreciate it. How do you know that? Because I'm proxy, honey. I know things. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Oh, all right. Yes, I did just call my puppet ma'am. I'm from the South. What do you want? All right. So, but my true future hope, there's only a part of me that hopes that I only ever had one paying Akashic Record reading client. Um, because it is a service. Akashic Records and being able to access them, I refer to it as the metadata of the universe. A lot of people refer to it as a library. It's universal recording of your time here, of everything. I mean, of everything in the cosmos, everything your soul has ever done, thought, experienced. It gets recorded. Being able to read Akashic Records, it is an art. And it's not something that everyone can do. Just like any of the other clairs, any of your gifts that come online, I'm so envious of people that can see auras, can see the colors that emanate. I'm so envious. But I don't have that skill. I want it. I don't have it. That's the same of so many other things. And when you start tapping into your spiritual gifts, those feelings all come to the surface too. Those feelings of inadequacy, those feelings of, oh, but I want that. The hustle culture infiltrates it, and then you're trying to make it a business, and it's a business, right? My real hope for my future with my business is simply that I continue being brought to rooms where whatever it is I can provide is helpful, in a way that's cleansing and reestablishes what it is someone wants that maybe got a little bit disjointed in recent years, you know? Because of how many experiences I've had, I kind of remain in this substantially open to what the moment calls for state. And I've been doing all of my own trauma healing while I've been waiting for my business to take off, because that's what I've been using my time for. Haven't had clients? Okay, it means I'm not ready. That's how I've seen it. And I continue to sort of stay in that place because I have it set up. It's now available. I have it as an offering for those that feel aligned and that pop in, right? But I'm not forcing it. And I'm not doing any of the things that make me feel. I'm on no other social media because I try. And actually, Proxy, the last time I tried to get back onto Instagram, it like broke on my phone. I tried a couple weeks ago. I actually tried to restart because I was trying to set up an account for my dog, Mabel, because she's adorable. And I did. I put a couple pictures up, and then I tried to set one up for myself because I knew that I would be stepping into things like interviews with other people, like just the possibility of being seen. And I thought, well, okay, I should, right? I should probably. And so I tried it for a day and it broke. I just kept having technical glitch after technical glitch. And then I just couldn't log back in. And then once I did, the 2 accounts I had just made disappeared from my everything. And I went, I hear you. Got it. I'll put it down. I'm not interested in Instagram. Fantastic. Because I'm truly not. I don't like social media. I got off of Substack because it became social media. It wasn't for a year and a half. It was an incubator for me. And then it became social media, and I went, I've been feeling this for a while, been looking for an excuse to leave. Why, thank you, excuse, in the form of a mean comment. Bye, y'all. Sorry to the 19 people who subscribed. You'll see me on YouTube. That's where I'm going for now. That's kind of where I am. So I think where my future is continuing to go, it seems like it's YouTube and screen-based things. And in the off chance that I do get the absolute honor of providing an Akashic Record reading to John Oliver, to Seth Meyers, Amber Ruffin, Jenny Hagel, any of y'all at that show, Stephen Colbert, sir, I can provide you with an Akashic Record reading that can answer questions about, I don't know, Catholicism. If you have questions about that, I feel like you already kind of know everything. But if you'd like to have a conversation with a certain author, um, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. I can channel in those that you wish to speak to because I have also been honing my mediumship skills. It might have to involve a puppet. Yeah, J.R.R. Tolkien's gonna have to talk through me. Sorry. All right, but she doesn't like the accent's for her though. So if someone else is coming through proxy, yeah, this is me now giving a pitch. Any guest on my podcast, you're also welcome to give a pitch to anyone that you also feel you are talking to. We're all having fun here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you all so much for being here. We're not done yet, but my time is done. Charlie, thank you for letting me co-host. Proxy, it has been my absolute honor. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. So at this point in the conversation, that's when I'm going to just take us down from where we've been and sort of set up that Christine Carlson refers to it as a golden pause. And I'll be reading the Akashic Records of my guest. Because I am my own guest, I will be pulling into my own Akashic Records. Okay. All right. Big energies, it's easier when the glasses come off. And what you're seeing in my hands, I refer to as energetic sign language. Many call it light language. It is a way of providing communication that you see. And yes, if you are listening to this and not watching on YouTube, you're probably wondering what I'm doing. My hands are moving independently. I am channeling in my guides and my own Akashic Records. It's communication. We used to do this before we had verbal language. We spoke more telepathically because those lines were open. And we used our hands and our bodies to help provide us with contained thought transmission, you could call it, right? Because you don't want to have yourself opened to everybody all the time. You would tune in to who it is you're speaking to, and you would direct, and your hands would help because your entire body would get involved in the conversation. That's what I do. This started back in me on a soul recognition level while I was dying in 2024. This is how I started speaking. It turns on when it needs to come on, and it's what I use to regulate my central nervous system and allow for flow of information to come out of my vocal cords. I speak with my hands, I speak with my voice. More of us are going to be starting to do things like this in the coming years. I'm here to sort of help bridge a little bit of understanding, particularly when children start doing it and their parents are going, what are they doing? I can't understand what they're doing. Well, they're communicating with you. They just might not be able to communicate with their voice. They may be communicating with their hands in their own language. So the question I'm simply asking is, what is in my highest good and the collective watching this's highest good to know? To participate in this is to receive audience, levels of personal understanding, and assistance. Assistance with the career you're pivoting into, assistance with the life you're pivoting from. Those that would appreciate an hour of Charlie's time for this podcast will find that they leave feeling more grounded and more clear on their path forward. And those who watch, we encourage you to use it to make decisions about your own careers, your own pivots, and how you can maintain resilience through those that are the most harsh. Okay. That was sort of a message from my guides, primarily Gaia, my former internal family members as well, and my body. Body is a guide. It's just not one that tends to speak. Body speaks when my hands are talking. Collective being. That's what I am. All right. Well, this has been deeply fun for me. And I so look forward to any of you that are interested in having a conversation about your own past, present, and future that has to do primarily with your business. But I think we can all agree that there's no such world in which your life and everything that's led you to this is also going to just be coming out too. So you might cry. You might have moments of, oh my God, and when you're done, you might not want it to go live. It's going to have to. That's my only caveat. I will not say no, because what comes out is what comes out. It's healing for you. It's healing for me. And it's healing for anybody who watches. I just do say that as a little bit of a PSA because of the symphony of deeply traumatic experiences that I have had in this lifetime. To speak with me is to possibly have those things triggered too. Because they're subconscious and you haven't been paying attention to them. Because there are things that your guides are telling you that you might not be paying attention to. Might come out. And it's not me that you're going to be listening to. It's yourself when you watch this back. Which I recommend you do with anything that you record. Because everything that comes out of a channeler is for the channeler first. Always. Everyone else just also gets to share in that medicine too. That's why you do it. So, if you are interested, there is a Google form in the description. Please fill it out. Everyone that comes through, I will read. I will be checking in with my guides. Is this aligned? Is this not? Is this something to do? Is it not? If it is, you will receive a Calendly link and you'll just schedule it'll be an hour and a half. We won't talk the whole time, but I'm scheduling in an hour and a half. These episodes are designed to be about an hour. That's the goal. But if we're talking trauma, it could go further, it could go longer. The Akashic Record reading you get at the end, we're going to keep it to highest good that has to do with business because that's the container of this particular show. I'm just checking in with guides. Is there anything else in particular? Oh, and for those for whom this is not going to be the right fit, you're going to get an apology email with a channeled explanation, a channeled paragraph. You're coming into conversation with a collective being who's still in the pivot, just enough through it that I can already look back and say, okay, I'm okay talking about this stuff. I'm okay sharing anything, and I will be a non-judgmental space for whatever it is that needs to come through. And for those of you watching, especially those of you commenting, well, I'll just remind you how powerful your words are, how impactful they can be, and how the level of vulnerability that it takes to come onto a show like this, to open up your life, talk about the things that aren't working. One, I encourage you to watch the entire episode before you comment at all. And two, Well, if you're an asshole, I hope that whatever people respond to you with is basically, ooh, I do not look forward to your life review. Or sorry, I don't envy your life review. That's the phrase. I don't envy your life review. I've been through them. We all get one when we leave. And the power of the impact that you have, it depends on the person that you're impacting. If you've been going around being a troll online, let's just say that there's some interesting things waiting for you on the other side. I mean, you'll be fine. You'll have guidance and whatever, but I don't envy it. Because getting punched in the face, cosmically speaking, with the shit that you have caused by harming people regularly online. Woo! There's a lot you got to deal with. There's a lot you got to clean up, karmically speaking. So, words have impact. They're huge. They're important. Choose them with resonance. Choose them with your heart. Read them before you post them. And understand that you're stepping into my container to do it. The container of at least one very, well, we're all going to find out what I can do, level healer. And a fellow healer. And you yourself, if you're watching this, if this came to you, if it's something that you clicked on and are still watching, also a healer. So, the power of 3 is what you evoke when you add your own words into the smoke. Use them with guidance. Ensure you are being well-rounded. And be kind. Show us your loving side. Please. Okay. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And those of you that are interested in participating in this little experiment with me, I look forward to reading through your responses on the Google form. All right. Love you so much. We'll talk soon.